I want to hear your keys to victory. So obviously, lots going into this game. Everyone's talking about Saquon, and we were talking about the other day how last year everyone was talking about CMC, being this unprecedented running back that we haven't seen before. This year, you're hearing the same exact things you heard about CMC last year, but for Saquon. And it's just like every year they pit this like, oh, best defensive line the Chiefs have ever seen, best offensive line they've ever seen, best running back they've ever seen. Every year they just play it up like this is finally the year they're going to fall. Talk to us about the kind of differences between what you saw from last year's 49ers team in the trenches comparatively to this Eagles team that we're about to see on Sunday.
Yeah, there's some similarities in the way they ran the ball, obviously focusing on, having a fullback, having a opportunity to run counters and power plays. Anybody who knows, like we talk about high-level football, the issue that power plays and counters come is they get you out of your gap. So defensively, if I'm a linebacker and I'm playing, I got the A gap or I got the B gap, whatever my responsibility is, once that guard pulls or a tight end goes, yo motion or something, then sometimes my gap responsibility changes. And so I have to be really good on the discipline, my eye discipline of finding my home gap. And then when those guards start pulling and you get that power set or that counter pull, you got to be able to transfer your eyes, pick up that next target, get downhill in a split instinct and relieve that double team. And the way that the Eagles are built up front with these massive offensive linemen, well, they double the bigs and then work their way up to the linebacker. So by the time you transfer your eyes and start going downhill, you got a 330, 360-pound man meeting you about 3 yards past the line of scrimmage. You got to disengage and still have good gap responsibility. So if you're just playing gap sound, which is what happens in a lot of man coverage, when you play a lot of man coverage, you want to do one gap, one man, one gap, one man. Make sure you have all the gaps filled, no open gaps. And that works with stretch teams. That work with teams that just run toss plays. But when you start doing counters and power plays, that man concept sometimes can be your enemy. So if I was the Chiefs, I would play a lot of zone behind it. And even if you want to bring pressure, run some stunts with the D line, run stunts, get the linebackers up in those A gaps and mug, which means kind of sugar, bluff like you're gonna blitz the A gap, just to make the lineman make some different blocking assignment calls. And then when you back out there, get back to your home gaps, cause some kind of confusion. Because if you just line up straight across the board in a 4-3 or 3-4, these guys have been blocking that counter and power a long time. And when they got a man for a man, a hat for a hat, Saquon Barkley, he's dangerous to the front side, but he's deadly out the back door.
And that's the one thing. Just kind of talking because everyone's talking about this offensive line that the Eagles have, which it's a good offensive line, but everyone's acting like this is the same offensive line from 2 years ago. Obviously, Juergens or Dickerson, whoever's playing center for them this week, it's not Jason Kelce. And then Lane Johnson, 2 years ago, Lane Johnson is a lot different from the Lane Johnson that we're seeing right now. We saw Jarrett Verse ate his lunch money in that playoff game against the Rams. And if we have to line Chris Jones up out there, if you're lining up Carl Loftus out there, Amenahu, Verse good. Verse a rookie. These guys are veterans who've been there doing this for a little bit. Is that kind of like a misnomer that a lot of the media is playing up, this Eagles offensive line? Do you see a big difference, a big drop off from what we saw 2 years ago?
Well, I think what you're seeing against the Eagles, the time the defenses make them struggle is when they set the edge. And like you said, what used to happen is the Eagles have always prided themselves as having some of the biggest, tallest, long-armedest tackles in the league. And when they stretch and pull, they make you run to the sideline. And then they just start punching you. They take you further than you want to go. And they just kind of, kick you out the club type blocks. But now because those guys are getting a little bit older, a little bit less mobile, they're starting to use the power and counter. And they're using the guards as pull. They use the younger guys to pull. They don't have Jason Kelce, so you don't see him. Remember, he used to be one of the only centers in the league that could snap it and pull, get out on the edge. Well, they don't have that anymore. So, limited the mobility of the interior linemen. Now it's a GY, the guard, and now the offset tight end. Those guys are pulling together. And so it's just a different gang, right? A different group of guys, but they've still been able to, isolate some one-on-ones. And like I said, the thing I'm seeing is most dangerous is that when you get a pull and when you get a counter, and that tells the linebacker, if I'm the weak side linebacker and I'm trying to go and get on the front side of the play, well, sometimes that backdoor gap is not taken completely. And the one thing Saquon Barkley does better than anyone else in the league, yes, he's explosive. Yeah, he's a hard guy to bring down. He has great vision. And when he sees you leave that back door open, he will hit that thing 100 miles and running. And by the time he gets to the safety or corner, those guys are taking awful angles because he's coming out the back door. That's not what you're not expecting a running back on a counter play this way to hit us coming back in the back door. And so sometimes that's just catching the secondary and linebackers. This is catching them off guard because that's not where the play is supposed to hit. But he's such a dynamic running back, and he picks and chooses when to hit it. And when you leave that back door open, man, I tell you, those long 75, 80-yard runs at the beginning of the games, at the end of games, it usually comes because somebody has overran a gap, or late in the game, you start anticipating the counters and the pulls, and now you're trying to cheat it. You're trying to cheat it. You want to make a tackle for loss. You shoot a front side gap, and he doesn't even make it to the front side. He hits that midline and cuts out back door, and it's Katie bar the gates. It's out of here.
Yeah, 88 out the gate. Do you worry about the run game? I know the stat that Spags has never allowed a 100-yard rusher in his tenure as the Chiefs DC in the playoffs, and then this year we haven't allowed 100 yards from a running back at all. This year, Lamar had it, but no running back's done it. But given all that, how good we did against the run during the season, playoffs, that's where I kind of. Yeah. Bills, I don't know what they're doing over there. They need to give James Cook the ball like 20 times a game, 25 times a game. They for some reason they sub him out every other play. I don't get it. But between Mixon and what they did that second half, kind of go into the run game a little bit, and then what the Bills did with Cook, do you worry at all? Like, is that something that's concerning to you? The run game, stopping the run.
It just seems to me that the way the Chiefs are playing defense. Historically, what they've done in the playoffs, and like you said, throughout the season, it makes offensive coordinators hesitate to be consistent on sticking with the run. It's like when you're banging your head against the wall over and over again, and you're not seeing any. It's no weaknesses. You're not creating no cracks. Usually, the running game, you're banging against the wall, and you see some cracks. You see some instability. There's some signs that it's gonna break. A big one is coming. Usually with the Chiefs defense, you'll see a run go for 7 yards. You might see a couple runs go for 11 or 10. You just don't see the back breaking lack of discipline. You don't see you don't see a guy that just gets totally fooled. He's just out of position where it makes you think, all right, let's come back to that later on in the game. It's just some. It's just you're chipping away, and all the while on the other side, your defense is getting drug up and down the field between the 20s. I think from an OC, offensive coordinator position, a lot of times in the football game against the Chiefs, you get into the second half, especially in the fourth quarter, and when the game is tight, you start thinking to yourself, they're getting 15, 25, they're getting big plays, explosives in the fourth quarter, and we're settling for 5-yard runs over and over again. How long am I willing to stay with it? And I think in that fourth quarter, it's that it ain't no tomorrow. And so if you got some plays in your hat, if you got some plays, in the back of that playbook, and you've run these running plays over and over, and none of them have broke, I think most offensive coordinators, they just start turning the page. We got to find something that can go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. And usually in the ball game, that means taking the ball out the belly of the running back, putting it in the quarterback's hands, and now you're trying to go toe-to-toe with one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And unfortunately, over the last 2 years, it always ends up in that last 3 or 4 minutes, a one-score game. Somebody's got to make a play. And when it comes down to Pat Mahomes versus your quarterback, it's usually Pat Mahomes that ends up making the plays necessary, whether that's running out the clock with 5 minutes left, whether it's 13 seconds against the Buffalo Bills. Whether it's the 3 minutes and 33 seconds, and now the defense had to come out and keep the Buffalo Bills from getting a field goal in the playoffs. Whatever the scenario is, it seems like the Chiefs offense and defense have been prepared and built for that moment. And the other team is starting to grab for straws. They're searching for something. They don't know if they have it in them, and they're just trying some stuff. Well, we have a proven patent on it. We know how to win close games, one-score games over and over and over and over again. And then we have one of the best finishers in the history of football, not just currently, but in the history of football. We have one of the best finishers at the quarterback position.
Want to make some quick cash while enjoying the big game with your family and friends? Together with our friends at Underdog, we got a few exciting things to share with you. First, if you've yet to download the Underdog app, do so now and get free cash. Click the link in the description or use promo code CHIEFCONCERNS, that's one word, to claim your free pick plus first-time deposit offer up to 1,000 smackaroos in bonus cash. New users will also get a Travis Kelce free pick for every new customer who signs up on Underdog before the big game. Secondly, for all existing Underdog users, Underdog is offering a no-sweat Sunday entry for all users, which means that everyone will either cash in on their big game entry or get their money back in bonus credit. If you have no idea how to play, well, we got you covered. Over the last 5 weeks, we have given 19 selections and have cashed on 15 of them. Pretty good. Predicting higher or lower on multiple different player statistics. So we are ready to continue this heater into the big game between the Chiefs and Eagles and beyond into the NBA season. So let's make this money and have a damn good time. Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head right there. The way the games are played, we kind of take the other teams out of their whole game plan. I mean, a good example of that is the AFC Championship game last year. Wow, with the Ravens, Gus Edwards has like that 12-yard run in the first half of that game. I think he gets to 2 more carries the rest of the game because they want to go kind of toe for toe with Pat and Lamar and kind of a duel between the two guys, and it just takes them out of the game. The one thing that I find that I think could be utilized for them is the fact that Saquon, not only is he a badass running back, he's amazing. I mean, he can catch the ball in the backfield. He looks like a receiver out there. He had that one catch against Jacksonville this year. We caught the ball in the back of the end zone, to skied for it. And I think that's one thing we've had issues with is covering the third down backs, like the Justice Hills of the world. Like those type of guys usually have good games against us, the kind of the pass catchers in the backfield. How do you see us kind of matching up against Goddard? Goddard, since he's come back from his injury, he's been their main, I believe their main target hog for them for the last 5 games. Hurst is going to him more than any other guy, and we've had troubles with guarding tight ends this year. How do you see us kind of matched up with Goddard and Saquon out of the backfield? So those have been kind of our Achilles heels on defensively, the tight ends and the running backs.
Yeah, to be honest, I can be blunt and honest about the game of football, and this is something that everybody should listen very clearly. There is no answers on defense. There is no perfect defense. There is no defense that can take away everything. You have to sacrifice something on the defense to take away one thing. So if I'm taking away Saquon Barkley, that means I'm taking a defender out of the coverage aspect, and maybe I'm going man-to-man against Goddard, man-to-man against Smith. Maybe I'm shading the safety over to A.J. Brown. But we're taking the run game out of it, but now we're a little bit more susceptible to a bootleg or, a TRC route, a little crossing route, a mesh concept. So eventually, you get into a flow of calling defense where your purpose on a certain down and distance is to take away one thing and not give up a touchdown. Like I'm taking something away. If they run that, we got them. But anything else, if they complete the ball and run, they're going to get 5 or 6 yards. And you just got to live through those downs. You got to live through those downs because you're educating yourself during the first half of how is the offensive coordinator calling the game. Is he calling it close to the vest? Is he calling a bunch of a second level deep ball shots? 1st and 10 is a big play, or is it running the ball every 1st and 10 to try to keep it in 2nd and 3rd and short? Once you get a feel of what they're doing, and you kind of confirm some of the things you saw on film, that's when you start bringing out the exotics. That's when you start bringing out the unique pressure packages that beat the blocking scheme. You can't do that at the beginning of the game because you're not 100% sure that what you saw on film is actually what they're planning on doing against you. So you gotta, the first 15 or so plays, you kind of gotta play your shell, a little bend don't break, let them run some stuff. Just you don't want to give up like the Redskins. You don't want to give up what the Commanders did, like first carry out the gate kind of thing. That's because you didn't learn anything. You just gave up a touchdown for 80-some yards, and you learned nothing about the game plan because it was one touch, one score. So you want them to snap the ball over and over again. You want to kind of keep them kind of showing their hand about the concepts that they're planning on running this ball game. And then when you have an opportunity, some teams, it takes halftime. It takes a halftime for them to get in to make sure all three levels on the same page, the communication's right before they make their adjustments. The one thing we've seen from the Chiefs, after that first quarter, after that first 10 or 15 plays, we've seen those Chiefs defenders be able to make adjustments on the fly. They've been able to kind of tighten up some things, tighten up some screws about, before the second quarter, so they can end up the second quarter strong, make sure they get the ball back for the offense, especially when they know they're getting the ball coming out of, second half, so they can do that double dip, right? Put the ball in Pat Mahomes' hands for the last 2 minutes, set up with a field goal or a score, and then come back out of the locker room and get the ball right back. And understanding that is the method, the madness under it. Nobody loses. They don't go crazy on each other. They don't lose control when something bad happens or there's a misassign something in the first 15 or 20 plays, because they all realize, hey man, this is just we jabbing, man. This is a heavyweight boxing match, and we just jabbing to figure out what the length and the reach is, and then we're gonna go to that body. We're gonna go to that body, hit you with that body blow a couple times, just to set you up for that fourth quarter, come into the headshot to knock you out. So it's a plan that they've been using. I mean, pretty much all year long. First, number one, stop the run. Number two, get after the quarterback. Right, get after the quarterback. But you have to have a plan of getting after the quarterback. That's not just zero blitzing, overload blitzing. No, you have to study the film and understand the blocking schemes and what down and distance they're using. A6, A7. Are they doing max protection? Are they doing slide left, slide? You got to understand what scenarios they're coming at with, and then get after that quarterback. And then third, last but not least, eliminate the explosive plays. You can't give up 20-yard gains and 30, a bunch of explosives. That just undermines the whole philosophy of what you're trying to do on the defensive side of the ball. So just great defense, man, trusting one another. The level of communication throughout the second half of the season has been phenomenal. They've had some young guys in there learning. Nazi, Connor's been, the third safety. Those guys been getting some really good reps. FAU's, got in there a few games and got his feet a little wet. Yeah, man, and, having the guys come back and having some guys be reintegrated to this defense. I mean, right now everybody's healthy, so you're gonna get there. You're gonna get the full Monty when it comes to the Chiefs defense, on defense especially, and then on offense everybody's healthy too also. So I mean, I don't know how far back Andy Reid and Matt Nagy are going to go in the playbook. I know they've gone back to the 1945 Rose Bowl a few times. They've gone to the double tight end diamond formation. I don't know where they got that from. Air Force, Navy, one of the armed forces or something like that. So I don't know, man. It's an exciting brand of football. It keeps you on your toes. It makes the other team really prepare for a bunch of different what coulda, shoulda, might happen, instead of really just focusing on the last 2 minutes of the half, the opening drive of the third quarter, and then how are you going to finish the last 3 minutes of the game? That's what it's going to come down to, no matter what the score is at the halftime or at any point in the game. Those are the three most important segments of the game.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. You guys are lucky. You guys getting the keys of victory from JD and Shawn Barber tonight. You guys. I don't know if you have to go.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. I think JD should be joining us shortly. But I did want to ask, going to obviously our defense, but look at the Philadelphia's defense. I read that they're all going to play this week, and they're all going through an illness right now, a flu of some sort. But apparently they're all going to play.
Listen, don't give me that illness stuff. Listen, I don't even. That's smoke and mirrors. I don't take none of that. Listen, you ain't gonna get me to let up a bit. I'm gonna start the game punching you in the mouth. I don't care if you was sick. I don't care if you had the flu. I don't care if you lost. I don't care what you're going through. That first snap, you getting 110% of this right into the face. I'm coming right through that jaw. That's the way you gotta play football, man. When it's time to kick off and it's time to get dirty, man, it's time to. This is it. This is it. So defensively, you think you're gonna get any sympathy from me that you dehydrate, bro? I hope it's hot in that dome. I hope that Caesar Superdome is smoking. I hope it's 100 degrees. I hope everybody over there is dehydrated. I hope we run you from sideline to sideline, jet sweep. Whatever you got to do to take advantage, man. This is it. This is. It ain't no tomorrow for anybody. Win, lose, or draw. Ain't no tomorrow. This is time to put all your chips in. Show me your hand. Either you got enough cards to win or not. So I ain't hearing nothing about no sickness, no illness, no nothing. I ain't even. I told my son. I texted him. It's time tonight to round up and circle the wagons. Don't worry about nothing going on outside of the team hotel. There's going to be Philadelphia fans pulling alarms, honking horns, running through hallways, trying to get on certain floors, trying to all that kind of stuff goes on because that's what they do. That's how Philadelphia fans do. They just want to give their team whatever edge they can. So it's time to just circle the wagons, get your rest, be ready to go. Last minute study. Let's get that last bit of walkthroughs in. And then on Sunday, man, be ready to just, man, let's let it all hang out, bro. I am super excited about this opportunity because we just saw a great game a few years ago from these two teams. And it came down to, it came down to a Jalen Hurts fumble that went back for a score. And then a big kick, a big punt return, I think. Those two plays, without those two plays, I don't really know who would have won that game. I think that game would have still came down to a field goal attempt, but it might have been, the team in green kicking that field goal instead of the sea of red. So that was a big turnover and a big moment of the game. And then, like you said, like I said, that big kick return was something. It was, it was some special moments in that game. And so, hey man, big time players make big time plays in big time games.
Yeah, was that Tony's punt return and then Sky Moore's his touchdown catch shortly thereafter that.
Yeah, Tom and Jerry, little Tom and Jerry, right?
Yep.
Tom and Jerry.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.